Hello YouTube, it's DasGregor and welcome to another Linux review. This is a first impressions of something I have never looked at before, and it's quite interesting. Today I bring you from the heart of China, Deepin, if that's how you say it. Before I get started though, I would like to tell y'all that next week I'll be on the road for business, so most likely I will not be doing a review. Let's just say maybe that KDE Gen 2 install tutorial last weekend that I spent almost my entire weekend doing makes up for it a little bit. But anyway, Deepin is interesting. It is Ubuntu based, but they have done a great job at making it very unique. I have not seen a distribution that looked like this yet, so kudos for that. You know, I think it's great when someone works with the distribution and actually customizes it to create a brand look and feel other than just the generic whatever you want to call it. If we look at Deepin here, it's quite simple. You've got this kind of starry background. You've got your buttons down here, which pretty much handle most everything. In fact, I need to move my mug over a little bit so I can show you a few things. You know, you've got your trash can, your calendar, your I'm not sure what that one is. Your sound, networking type devices. There's my simple screen recorder and GUVC, which I did install and was able to get working, no issues. Your control center, files, and then they have their browsers, Google Chrome, and then they have some multimedia applications here. They have their own store, and this is your launcher. Now you can get to the launcher by clicking this, or you can go into the upper corner here and it pulls it up, and you will notice too that everything is kind of sorted by, of course, internet, multimedia, games, graphics, etc. I did throw on a lot of games and things. I actually threw on a few more applications than I normally do for a Linux review, just to see how it all works because it looks so different. They've got a unique feel to this, and it all seems to work very well. You can click on here to go to the different categories and check everything out. It does come, of course, with LibreOffice and pretty much everything you'd need to get started. The installation was even easier than I expected it to be. The installation pretty much a couple questions and boom, it was installing. It was one of the more beginner friendly flavors to install. However, you better hope that you're wanting to not do anything intricate, I guess I should say, with your partitioning formatting. I found that when I was installing it, it pretty much said, what do you want to use? Okay, this is what you want to use? Okay, great, going forward. And it never really gave me an opportunity to change anything. Now, luckily with this system, I use it solely now for my Linux reviews, even though I do have some networking issues with it every once in a while. However, this hardware is pretty much dedicated to just doing a review here and there, so that really does help out. I don't have any other operating systems on here. I only have one hard drive now with the partitioning set up so that I always have a swap partition, my root partition, and a data drive, so I can put all of the videos that I create onto the data drive for storage for now. Other than that, that's it. As you may recall from many reviews ago, I used to have two hard drives in this, and I actually had the original operating system because I never liked to mess up the original operating system. So I had one hard drive with Windows 7 from way back when, and then a second hard drive with 2 or 3 different flavors of Linux. along with Gen 2, of course, as being the standard one that controlled everything, and then a stable version that was bin based instead of source based, and then of course my guest OS. But that all changed when my primary hard drive decided to go belly up and I lost it, and I said, you know what, I've got another system I can put Gen 2 on. I'll use it primarily for that and just make this the testing PC. Has made installing some of these distributions for testing a little bit easier. If you're new to my channel and you're new to these videos, let me explain just a few things. When I do my reviews, I do my best to install them in a live environment on real hardware, not in a virtual box and not in a simulated fashion. I don't say anything negative to any reviewers out there that do that, because you can still get a good feel of the operating system. However, I have seen many times that I have installed something in a virtual box and it behaves completely different than in the real world. And I know a lot of people out there look at these videos and they want to be able to install them on real hardware, not in a virtual environment. And it doesn't do them much good if they look at a review that's in a virtual box that worked flawlessly and maybe worked even better than it does if you try to install it on real hardware. So that's why I do my best to install in a real hardware environment. If I can't do that, a lot of times I will still attempt it, and then I'll do all of this information, gathering it and so forth in the real environment, and then I'll throw it in the virtual box just so I can record it and then tell you how my experience was. But I always will tell you, if I'm ever in a virtual box, that this is not the real thing, etc., etc., and so forth. Let's go on. It's quite interesting how Deepin is set up here. If you go to the right corner, you bring up your desktop environment that you would normally see for almost like a control panel. You've got your default applications, your display, your networking, date and time, power management, etc., all right there. An interesting way to bring that up. I believe you go in the, I thought in the right corner there was something else, but I might have been mistaken. It's also interesting how they showed how you can make groupings. So I threw the games, for instance, into a grouping area over here, and so that allows you to kind of do that. Almost feels in a way like they've taken some aspects of Android, because that grouping feature is something I've seen on Android tablets and phones, and it is kind of interesting. It almost has a feel like that in this distribution. But so far, I've had a few hiccups. When you get down to, okay, is it buggy, is it stable, etc., etc., there have been a few hiccups here and there. And one of the tests that I sometimes like to do is, after installing a software distribution, I like to go ahead and start up the update and see how well it handles doing an update from a fresh install. There are a couple reasons why I do this. A lot of times systems are built with special requirements, and as soon as you try to do an update, it just hoses anything that they've tried to do and destroys the OS. And it's no good to try an operating system to think that it's going to be good for you if the first time you do an update, it blows it up. Now with Deepin, I had a few problems, and let me go over some of those. So if any of you do decide to try this, or if you're working with this, you might want to consider fixing this. If we go into the main menu, let's see if I can pull this up and remember where it was at. It had to do with the updates, and I'm not seeing that being pulled up. I'm going to pause the video real quick. I'm going to pull it up here and we'll get right back to it. One moment. Okay, and here we are, and thank you for your patience for that whole half a second you had to wait. I was for some reason thinking that, nah, it wasn't the store that you go in that would do this, but it actually was. When I first tried to do an update or an upgrade and actually install some GUVC View, for instance, it was crawling along, just taking forever. And I kind of looked at the internet to say that, oh yeah, it has to do with the servers that are being used for this. And I found a real quick, easy method to fix this. If you go into the store, which is this icon right here, you click on down here and go into preferences, there is a way to go into the mirrors and then tell it to select the best mirror. And when it does that, it goes through and finds something other than the Chinese mainland mirrors, and that makes a huge difference, because there are some mirrors all over the world that will work much better for you and keep things going much faster. Since I did that, the updates went much more quickly, a much better way of doing it. Sorry to say so much. Anyway, going on, we look, the store is quite interesting. Let me make sure my internet is turned on here. It's off. This is, like I said, the computer that always gives me trouble with the internet. It has a very sensitive touch switch, which I'd never suggest anybody to ever go to a system with a touch switch, especially when that touch seems to go on and off on its own as if it were possessed. And it does do that. Let's take a quick look and make sure. See here if we're online. There we go. Let's see if we can close that and reopen it. Well, I'm not sure why I'm getting this, other than the fact that maybe we're having another issue with the internet at the moment. So any which way, it doesn't really matter. If we go to update, for instance, very easy to update. You can do a search and find that. The big thing that I wanted to point out, of course, was that in the preferences you can change the mirrors, and that really does help. And going on with Deepin, as I said about the stability, other than when I did an update and I did my reboot, crossed my fingers going, oh, let's see if this works, let's see if we have goodness here. Oh, it failed. It blew up. It just kind of stopped. It gave me my mouse and no screen and nothing else, and I thought, we have broken it. What do? Do you start all over and see if it was just a fluke, or do you just go on through? I decided, we'll just shut it off, power it back on, and see what happens. I did that, and voila! It came on back up, started up, everything has been working. However, I would say playing around with it here and there, I have come up with a few hiccups. I'll be in an application and suddenly it'll seem like the system has frozen on me, and then everything will kind of refresh as if it's restarting the Xorg server, and then I'm back into it and everything's working again, which is kind of strange. But I've had a few hiccups like that. But other than that, everything else in it has been working quite well. I'm really impressed with the look and feel. I guess it's kind of nice and refreshing to go to an operating system that just, it's easy to use and easy to get into, and isn't the same humdrum, boring interface that you're seeing over and over and over again. When I do these reviews, a lot of times I look at distribution A and I realize, gee, this looks just like distribution G, and this G, of course, looks just like distribution J, and etc., etc. And it's like, you could take those three distributions, and if you didn't tell somebody that they were three different distributions, they would almost think they had never changed and that they were in the same area as before. And that's kind of bothering to me, because if you're going to create a distribution and build that, I think it's really good to take and create a brand or a look that matches your feelings of how the operating system should work. If I was to make my own distribution, I would probably use my schemes that I enjoy the most, the coloring, etc., and try to also create at least some sort of a graphic or logo that could kind of go with it, just to give it a little bit of a different flavor. It's like when you start up Makulu, for instance, I'll use that, how some of the versions of that immediately have the hippo theme going, and that the intro screen when you first log in has the hippo doing different things to get started. You know, that's so much better than just seeing the generic K Windows logon. Or if you change even just a few generic sounds on startup and shutdown, that just makes a world of difference to make your distribution stand out a little bit better from the crowd. And this one definitely has an interesting look, an interesting feel, and it works well and still has all the benefits of Linux and all the applications that are out there. You do have, of course, choices within the Software Center to find paid software as well as free and open source software. So always be careful when in the Software Center that you're accidentally not going to something that you don't want to pay for, and looking for the open source software if that's what you're wanting. But it is nice that you have the choice. That's what's best about Linux, is choice. So again, I remind you that next week I will not be doing a review unless my mind gets changed. I'll be on the road pretty much Wednesday through Friday, not getting home till late Friday, leaving the family behind, and I'll be out and about doing work, so I just don't want to deal with having to worry about doing a review and having that stress, as well as a lot of driving that I'll be doing. So, and I'll have another week like that coming up here in about 3 weeks as well, where I'll be gone all week long, and I just don't want to deal with that. It's bad enough weeks like this week where most of my hours are done in 2 and 3 days, and I've got all my work completed with too many hours worked. It's difficult sometimes to find the time for some of these, and I want to do a good job when I do these reviews. I want to give you guys good information, etc. I don't want it to feel like, oh gee, DasGregor, he just rushed through that so badly that I really don't even feel like I got a review on this at all. I don't want that to happen. I want to still be good, that you guys enjoy it and get something out of this. So if I can't give it my fullest, I just won't try. We'll just stop it and say, you know what? Let's push it off the week after and do a better job. I'd rather have a better job done than a rushed job that people don't like. So until next time, if it's morning, evening, noon, or night, whatever you're having, I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for all of the support that you give me. I appreciate it greatly. And we will talk to you all later. Bye, guys.